Jeff, uh, Dylan was out there. I guess is he playing tonight?
Yeah, the plan is for Dylan to play tonight, but until he comes off the ice and I get a report, we're never certain, but the plan is for him to play.
Do you expect him to kind of, I guess, need to ease into things a little bit or anything like that? He's out there.
Well, I think it's like anybody else in the preseason. That's their first game in a long time. I mean, it's not his first game any longer than most guys. So, I don't when you don't want to play somebody 25 minutes as a forward when it's a preseason game. But in terms of ease into it, you can't look at it that way at all. He's got to play. He's cleared to play. If he wasn't cleared to play, we wouldn't play him. So he's got to go full out and get used to the bumps and grinding that he's going to get through the season.
Answer, Con.
Yeah, Jeff, you talked about the bumps and the grinding. I mean, how much just the several days of camp and all the practices, and I saw yesterday you had quite a few one-on-one battle drills. How much has that prepared him for what he's going to face here in his first game in a while?
Yeah, I think our medical group did a really good job of putting a plan in place to get him ready. And, you obviously go through a period of time of no contact, and then we had him initiate contact, and then contact was initiated on him, but when he knew it was coming, so he could, so you kind of work your way into it, and then you kind of go from there into full, and part of full is all those battles. And Dylan and I've talked, like Dylan, one of his good attributes is he's really strong. So he's got to use his body to win pucks. And if he doesn't use his body to win pucks, he won't have the puck as much. So he's got to get back to playing, normal in those circumstances. So the preseason, the reason I want to play him in preseason games is to prepare him. So when we play Tampa, he's not feeling his way into the game. He's going all out, and the quicker he can get there, the better.
I'm assuming he'll be with the Zadina. Who else are you planning on having on the line there?
We're going to start the game with Zadina and Lucas Raymond on his line.
How eager are you to see? You had Lucas with the skilled players the other night in Suter and Fabry, and now the chance to play with Larkin and Zadina. Are eager to see that combination?
Yeah, I'm eager. It doesn't make much sense to me to put Lucas on the line. That doesn't, accentuate his abilities. If we want to see how good he is right now today and how ready he is right now today, let's put him on lines that would be, the types of lines we'd look to him play on. And so it's not going to be a grinding line per se, although everybody's got to grind a little bit. It's going to be a little bit more of a line with good skilled players. And, we certainly had that with Fabs in Suits. And I thought the line did really good job. And, now he gets a chance to play with Larks and Zadina. And I think the biggest thing on that line is, and I've talked to Lucas about this, is he's got to make sure he's part of the process of getting the puck. He's got to make sure he doesn't wait for others to get the puck for him. He's got to go get the puck. Zadina's got to go get the puck. Larks has to go get the puck. And if they all go and get it, we'll have the puck a lot, and you'll see a lot of, skilled plays by them. So it'll be good to see them together and see how it is.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Ted Colfin.
Hey, Jeff, these guys are in game shape more or less all year nowadays. I mean, in your eyes, what do you like to see, or what do you want to see all these guys get out of the preseason, basically?
Well, the one thing I'd say, I mean, they're in phenomenal shape and they train like crazy. There's no doubt about that. There's no time off. It's not, probably there was a time where you would come into camp and get into shape, and that's not the case. Now, I will say you cannot replicate the grinding that you go through. So part of, what I answered this question was in terms of doing some one-on-one battles, and that is, that's getting them game ready, because that doesn't happen in the summer, nor should it. You're not going to put that wear and tear on your body. So that's part of what you're doing through the preseason. And then I think the other two parts are kind of twofold. One is an evaluation for us to determine who's earning what ice time, whether it be minutes 5-on-5, minutes on specialty teams, a spot on our team, a spot as an early call-up guy. everybody's, that's part of the evaluation process. And the second part of it, just as important, is we need to make sure that we're cementing our fundamentals and foundation. And so that once we get going, there's not many practices. So we got to make sure that our guys can play without thinking, in that we're all on the same page in terms of our systems and our fundamentals within those systems.
That's got to be somewhat frustrating. I mean, this would be the perfect time of year to get some quality practices in just for the regular season. And it doesn't look like you guys are really going to have that many, really. I mean,
yes and no. We have practices. We'll have had a lot of practices. It's just they aren't necessarily, as you saw yesterday, with somewhat our full group. But that's okay too, because listen, there's still competition going on here, and I said that to both groups yesterday. I made that abundantly clear that this is, the practice as it stands today doesn't mean by any stretch our decisions are made. So, we do get lots of practice. We'll practice here in a little bit. When you guys go home, take your naps, we'll be out here practicing. So, and same thing tomorrow, when we'll have one group that goes to Pittsburgh, and then the other group will be back here practicing with our American League squad.
Jeff, it really didn't sink in until I looked at it on paper, but just the schedule for you guys today, for the coaching staff specifically. I mean, today, then you got the noon start from Pittsburgh. Yeah. Just generally speaking, what's these 3 days going to look like for you guys? Half kidding. Are you guys thinking about spending the night at LCA or close to it or something?
If there was a time I was going to spend the night at LCA, it would be through the exhibition stretch of training camp. It's certainly the most taxing part of the season for the coaching staff. I remember my first one as an assistant. I was like, what just happened? It comes at you fast. And you think about it, you never play this many games, and the players aren't necessarily playing that many games, but we are we're running the practices. And that's not, listen, it's great for us, because then once the season starts, it almost feels calm, So, we do a lot to be as prepared as possible. A lot of monkey wrenches get thrown at us. It's the reality of it with injuries and all that. And we got to make some adjustments, and we will continue. And that's where you got to be as prepared as you can going into it. So, and it gets us, like I said, it gets us in somewhat game shape too.
Or you are driving back home tonight, and then first thing tomorrow morning, driving right back.
I live on the west side though, so it's easier because
Yeah.
I'm close to the airport anyway. So it makes sense, and I like to see I don't think I'll see my kids tonight, but I like to see my wife and kids as much as I can.
There you go. Thanks.
I'm not sure they always want to see me though, Ted.
There you go. I hear it.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Jeff, with Rana's absence, making up the goals you would have expected to get from him, is that just going to be like a collective effort? Like if we can get a couple more from this guy, a couple more from that guy, you can't really put that on one guy's shoulders. You got to step up and be the goal scorer now.
No, I don't think you can. Certainly he's a guy who probably has as much goal scoring talent as anybody on our roster. And so, to say that one guy's going to be able to fill that would be a little bit foolish of me to think. But that doesn't mean that you can't score. I think if anything it does to your group is kind of cements what your identity has to be, and number one, let's make sure we don't have to score 4 a night. Let's make sure if we score 3, we're winning the hockey game by only giving up 2. So you got to be great defensively. You got to check like crazy. And then from a scoring perspective, we're going to have to find ways to grind goals a little bit. And it's one thing to be hard at the net. It's another thing to be hard and smart at the net. And it's something we're trying to work on to work to get free looks at the net and look to get free looks at the cage. And, the goal we scored the other night, where it was borderline. I think they were asking if it was goalie interference. I think it was our third goal, maybe. That's how we're going to have to score. Like the other goalie's going to have to say it was a hard night every time they play us, and if they don't, then we're not going to score enough goals.
Giovanni Smith, what have you seen from him so far? What does he got to do more? Where do you see his role on the team?
Giovanni's biggest challenge probably is just consistency, and consistency of his everyday approach, and he's something he's working on. He knows it. He's got to be better at it, and ultimately for him to be a real effective player to start, he's got to make sure he gets pucks out on the wall in our end. He's got to get pucks through in deep, and when he's got it in the neutral zone, he's got to forecheck, and he's got to either take the puck to the net or give it to somebody else and get to the net. And he's a huge man. Yeah, you know, that's really hard. And I just talked about, I mean, all the goals in the National Hockey League are scored in that area, in the net front and in the slot. That's where all of them are scored. So he's a huge guy with pretty soft hands that can get to that area. Let's get to that area as much as we can. So, you know, if he has a pretty simple game, I think he can be real effective. And then he's going to bring some physicality and toughness and size that we don't have tons of. And so I think that's a real important element too. So he's got a package that I think can help us. What he has to do is make sure that his attention to detail on a daily basis is great so he can be in the lineup.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Max Boltman.
Hey, Jeff, when you guys had your exit meetings last year, was there kind of one or two areas that you pointed to with Philip Zadina that you wanted to see him take a next step this season?
Yeah, there was.
Would you share them with us, or?
Yeah, I'll share some of it. I mean, I don't think I need to share all of it, but you know, ultimately, I think with Z, you know, the two areas that we've worked with him to be effective is become a more of a give and go player, and then in that area I just talked about, that net front and slot. And when he's been effective, if you look at statistically over the years, that's where he scored from. That's where everybody scores from, and that's where he's gotten the majority of his shots from. And when he's not as effective, he's on the outside too much. And you can't get to that area a lot of times just by beating people yourself. You have to give and go. So, you know, we've put an emphasis on that, and hopefully he can excel at that. And then the other part of it would be how to be more effective on the power play. And, you know, a little bit of that shot accuracy, a little bit of that shot decision, a little bit of that's where he's shooting the puck from. A little bit of that is creating more deception. And so, you know, I hope he worked like crazy in the off season on his own to do that, and can be even more effective on the power play.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's it for us this morning. Thanks, everyone.